This is what surprised me the most when I first moved here. In Australia, if you want to see a specialist doctor, an orthopedic, something like that, it's going to take you weeks, if not months, to book an appointment with them.
Wow.
I never understood why it was
Buat
so
janji
complicated
selama
and
itu di
ridiculous.
Australia.
And then when you finally did meet them, even if you had private health insurance, it would cost you a few $100s on top of that as the bill. So I've had some very expensive and stressful journeys with specialist doctors in Australia. Now in Malaysia, the experience could not be any more different. Specialist doctors are everywhere and they're not lower quality. These doctors are studying in Australian, UK, US universities. They've come back to Malaysia and they're practicing here. They are very friendly, well-spoken, and in no way worse than specialists or surgeons you would see in Western countries. That's why there's a lot of medical tourism in Southeast Asia, and Malaysia certainly is not cutting on quality. It's the quality and more. It's just a much more efficient system to back it up. And the beautiful thing is that the whole thing cost essentially zero because, again, it was fully covered by private health insurance. In my opinion, this is what private health insurance should be, and Malaysia has got it right.
Assalamualaikum, Elsa di sini. Hai guys, hai semua, halo tetangga. Gimana kabar teman-teman semua? Semoga sehat selalu, semoga bahagia selalu, dan semoga hari teman-teman semua selalu good day. Selamat datang di channel YouTube Malaysia Widianti Putri. Hari ini kita akan reaction dari channel Jack's Undertone. Kita tahu negara-negara besar seperti Australia pasti mempunyai fasilitas yang mungkin bisa aja jauh di atas Malaysia. Tapi kenapa pada akhirnya Jack kembali ke Malaysia untuk berobat dibandingkan dia berobat di negara dia sendiri? Tentu dia mempunyai alasan-alasan tertentu yang kita tidak ketahui. Nah, hari ini akan dia jelaskan honest opinions dia, menurut pendapat dia pribadi, pandangan dia pribadi, pengalaman dia pribadi, bagaimana dia akhirnya memilih Malaysia untuk mengobati penyakit dia. Nanti kita lihat sama-sama video seperti apa. Tapi sebelum dimulai video reactionnya, seperti biasa aku mau ajakin teman-teman semua dulu untuk subscribe channel ini dan aktifkan lonceng notifikasinya supaya tidak ketinggalan updatean terbaru dari channel ini. Dan bagi teman-teman yang mau request, bisa banget DM di Instagram aku di @elsa_widianti_putri. Dan bagi teman-teman yang mau gabung di grup Telegram aku, bisa banget join di link deskripsi di bawah ini. Terima kasih. Yaudah, tanpa berlama-lama, tanpa membuang masa, jomlah kita mulai video reactionnya. Are you ready? Let's go.
G'day, I'm back in Malaysia and I'm feeling pretty sick. I'm stuck in bed for the next 3 days with a fever with the flu. It's not a bad view though. And that gave me the idea to talk about my experience with healthcare here in Malaysia and particularly compare it to my experiences with healthcare in Australia. I think a lot of people have the misconception that Western countries have great healthcare and all these other benefits.
Kita masih berpikiran like juga kan, kayak negara-negara barat, negara-negara yang lebih maju dibanding Malaysia. Orang berpikir pasti healthcare-nya bagus gitu kan, karena negara barat kan negara yang maju berkembang gitu kan. Nah, tapi kenapa banyak orang-orang barat malah berobatnya ke Malaysia gitu kan?
That Western countries have great healthcare and all these other benefits, while countries like Malaysia are lower tier. It's not true. First, the GP, the general practitioner, the everyday doctor, specialists. I've consulted a specialist doctor in a hospital twice while I've been here in Malaysia over the last 2 years, and the experience has been amazing and very different to Australia. Third, I'll briefly discuss the insurance situation from what I understand and compare it to the experience, again, I had in Australia. So this video is targeted to foreigners who are interested in moving, living or working in Malaysia, just like me. I'm an Aussie expat and I moved to Kuala Lumpur 2 years ago. On this channel, I share my travel and insights with you. So let's get into the video. First is GPs, general practitioners. This is your everyday family doctor that you go to whenever you have something wrong. In Malaysia, there are plenty of GPs and they're easy to find in your insurance app. You just book in, you show up, and usually you don't even have to wait. I went last night at 11 PM, no line, straight in to see the doctor. In general, I see a GP.
Kalau di klinik kita bisa memesan melalui aplikasi. Nah, dia bilang tadi jam 11 malam dia daftar tanpa perlu menunggu, tidak ada antrian sama sekali, dan dokternya ada, dokter umumnya.
Maybe once every 3 months, hopefully less, and every single time bar maybe one, there's been no line and I've been able to see the doctor very quickly. This is very different to Australia, where usually you have to wait quite a long time to see a doctor. Even if you make an appointment, they don't stick to the schedule. Recently, I was on the Gold Coast over Christmas, there was a storm, and I was trying to see a doctor for a suspected hernia. I think we spent about 4 or 5 hours waiting in the medical center with 100 people ahead of me, even getting there at 9 AM just to see a simple doctor and get a scan. So very different experience in Malaysia. I would say the GPs are definitely much more accessible. The next major difference with GPs is how they serve you. Now, there's good and bad. You can tell the difference in quality or attention to detail. Typically, the doctors here will ask you only a few questions and simply prescribe medication, which is generally actually what you want for most things. I have the flu. I just wanted to know what it was, get the medication, and get out of there. The doctor did just that. In Australia, sometimes the consultations run for a very long time. You get a single prescription. They send you off to a pharmacy. You have to wait in a line at the pharmacy, and then you have to pay for the medication, even if you have private health insurance. Whereas in Malaysia, the GPs here act as a dispensary. You don't have to go to a separate pharmacy. You can get the medications right there in the GP from the doctor or their assistant. Now, in my particular case, it was quite interesting last night because the doctor prescribed me with about 5 different medications, which would never happen in Australia. You'd probably get one and also be recommended paracetamol to buy on your own. But this doctor just gave me a lot. I got about 5 medications from them. Here we go. You can see them all here.
Karena beda-beda kan?
And it's all covered in the fee. There's zero cost. It comes under the insurance.
Tidak ada
Even
biaya.
if you don't have insurance, it's also much more affordable. I'll also put up the price list of other services that these GPs
namanya di Klinik Murni Kampung Baru. Ini biaya-biayanya guys.
And doctors offer, so you can get a sense of the local pricing if you were just to pay for it if you didn't have all-inclusive insurance. For foreigners or other people looking to visit or travel to Malaysia, it is very affordable, and healthcare, bar some major emergency, is probably not something you need to worry about. You should probably still get insurance, but if you don't, you'll probably be okay. You should be able to cover the cost. Whereas in Australia or the US particularly, if something happened to you and you didn't have insurance or you didn't have help, you might be screwed. So GPs in Malaysia are efficient, to the point, and they save you a lot of time because they prescribe and give you everything within the GP itself. So you don't have to go to a pharmacy or wait longer. Number 2, specialist doctors. This is what surprised me the most when I first moved here. In Australia, if you want to see a specialist doctor, an orthopedic, something like that, it's going to take you weeks, if not months, to book an appointment with them.
Wow.
I never understood why it was so complicated and ridiculous.
And
then when you finally did meet them, even if you had private health insurance, it would cost you a few $100s on top of that as the bill. So I've had some very expensive and stressful journeys with specialist doctors in Australia. Now in Malaysia, the experience could not be any more different. Specialist doctors are everywhere, and they're not lower quality. These doctors are studying in Australian, UK, US universities. They've come back to Malaysia and they're practicing here. They are very friendly, well-spoken, and in no way worse than specialists or surgeons you would see in Western countries. That's why there's a lot of medical tourism in Southeast Asia, and Malaysia certainly is not cutting on quality. It's the quality and more. It's just a much more efficient system to back it up. Now let's talk about specific examples. Typically in Australia, if you need to get a scan or other tests done, you'll be referred to another specialist or another radiology department where it'll cost you more money. You'll need to book in for a scan and you'll need to go at a specific time at a future date. So overall, it's a lot of fuss, even if you have private health insurance. Now you might ask, well, why don't you just use the public health system, Medicare? Well, even though it takes up taxes and a lot of money goes into health in Australia, it's not being used efficiently because you're just going to be waiting for months. Now let's compare that with my experience in Malaysia. I've had to go to a specialist here 2 or 3 times. It's usually the orthopedic surgeon to get an opinion on joint injuries I pick up at the gym or while I'm doing physical activity. So I've done my knees, I've done my shoulder. Now to go see this specialist, you just rock up at the orthopedic hospital. There's one near me called Alti Orthopedic, and it's amazing. You show up, you show them your app with the insurance, and you get to see the specialist pretty much straight away. When I saw the specialist, he was very friendly and he sent me to get an MRI instantly. So I went down in the same building, got the MRI, and then when that was done, they sent it straight back to the specialist. I went straight back to the specialist. I didn't need to book in for another appointment weeks in advance. I got feedback from him and we were able to diagnose and go from there. It only took a few hours. And the best part of all of that is that it was completely free. It was completely covered by the insurance, so it cost me zero. The same process in Australia would have taken weeks, if not months, and it would have cost a few $100s minimum on top of the monthly payments for the private health insurance. That's ignoring the public system, which you're also paying taxes towards as well. Now you might ask, what about the hospitals? I haven't had to stay in a hospital, thankfully, overnight here in Malaysia, but my partner has, so I know a little bit about the experience. In Australia, I have had to stay overnight in a hospital 3 times. I had both my hips done as an operation as well as my sinuses. Now, even if you're paying for the private health insurance, typically that will only cover the hospital accommodation fee. It doesn't cover the surgery and the surgeon fees itself. So those operations easily cost me thousands of dollars each, and you have to pay for the anaesthetist and other medications separately separately as well, on top of the insurance, on top of the hospital fee, on top of the operation fee. So it ends up being an expensive exchange. And the only other alternative is to wait for Medicare. But again, that could take up to a year to slot you in, and you get no choice over where you want to go and what surgeon you want to get. So it's not an ideal system.
Wow.
In Malaysia, she was admitted whenever she wanted. You could pretty much choose from the surgeon's schedule, got a private room, stayed there for 2 nights. And the beautiful thing is that the whole thing cost essentially zero, because again, it was fully covered by private health insurance. In my opinion, this is what private health insurance should be, and Malaysia has got it right. Let's talk about insurance because it's a must. I wouldn't recommend the public healthcare system when it comes to serious things like operations and hospital visits in Malaysia. So I would definitely recommend, if you're a foreigner, if you can afford it as a local, definitely pay for private health insurance. Now, in that case, what about my situation? I have AIA health insurance and it's fully covered by work, so I'm not paying for it out of my own pocket. It has been one of the most amazing benefits I've gotten from my workplace because of the reasons I just described. I haven't had to pay a single cent for healthcare since moving to Malaysia for these reasons. But I did have a look at how much it would cost, and it's also very interesting. I looked it up, and for a single, you can probably expect to pay up to 250 ringgit per month for a high quality standard of care private health insurance in Malaysia. So if we convert that to Aussie dollars, that's about $80 per month. Now in Australia, I was paying about $150 a month for the private health care I just described, which was far worse than the experience I've had here in Malaysia. So when it comes to insurance, I'm very confident you can be covered by the right policy that meets your requirements, that will blow you away compared to the Western health system. I hope that helped you. I know this was a hot topic, and I'd like to talk about healthcare here much more because it really has been one of the most important benefits I've had while moving to Malaysia over the last 2 years. My voice is feeling a bit rough, so I'm going to go have a nap and enjoy this beautiful view. If you have any more questions or even have some unique insights as a local who maybe works in the industry, please comment below. I read them all. I'll respond to you. If you want to get in touch with me directly, you can check out my Instagram. It's in the description, or my email, which is in my channel details. I hope this video helped you. I'm Jack Alderton, Aussie expat living in Malaysia, sharing my travel and lifestyle insights with you to help you make the most out of life. See you in the next one.
Nah, jadi kebetulan dia memang bekerja dan tinggal di Malaysia. Ini video 2 bulan yang lalu, masih tahun ini. Jadi dia di cover asuransinya oleh perusahaan dia gitu. Jadi ketika dia sakit, dia berobat ke klinik, ke rumah sakit yang ada di Malaysia, dia nggak membayar sepeser pun, nol. Ibaratnya kayak free, gratis gitu, karena dia udah tercover asuransinya dengan perusahaan tempat dia kerja gitu kan. Nah, ternyata ada 3 hal yang membedakan healthcare di Australia dan juga di Malaysia. Yang pertama ada GPS, yang kedua ada spesialis, yang ketiga ada asuransinya. GPS ini maksudnya adalah membuat jadwal dengan dokter itu hanya melalui aplikasi aja, tanpa perlu mengantri, tanpa perlu datang langsung ke klinik. Dan di situ dia bilang tadi jam 11 malam dia daftar dan langsung di-approve, dan dokternya pun ada di sana. Aplikasi ini dia bilang dia tidak perlu menebus obat itu melalui apotek, tapi langsung bisa mendapatkan obat itu dari dokternya langsung. Nah, kalau di Australia dia bilang dokter meresepkan obat dan dia harus pergi lagi mencari apotek untuk menebus obat itu. Yang kedua adalah soal spesialis. Dia ada salah satu penyakit yang mungkin memang mengganggu dia. Nah, dia daftar nih ke dokter spesialis. Itu memerlukan waktu yang lama banget, berminggu-minggu, berbulan-bulan, bahkan bertahun-tahun. Tapi kalau di Malaysia tidak perlu menunggu dengan waktu yang selama itu, dan biayanya jauh relatif lebih murah dibandingkan dengan Australia. Juga tadi soal asuransi yang memang udah di cover sama perusahaan tempat dia kerja, dimana kalau di Malaysia dia hanya perlu bayar $80. Nah, kalau di Australia dia harus mengeluarkan uang yang lebih ekstra lagi, sekitar $150 per bulannya. Jadi meskipun Australia dan Malaysia mempunyai kualitas kesehatan yang tidak jauh berbeda, tapi abang ini mengatakan kalau bagi warga-warga asing yang ingin berobat, coba datang ke Malaysia gitu. Ya, itu balik lagi ya dengan keperluan kita. Kalau misalnya memang kualitasnya sama saja tapi ada yang lebih murah, ya kenapa kita nggak pilih yang dengan harga yang lebih murah dengan kualitas yang sama gitu kan. Nah, mungkin itu adalah hal yang dialami dari Bang Jack ini guys. Untuk Jack, terima kasih udah sharing kepada kita semua. Jadi kita tahu nih, ternyata di Australia layanan kesehatannya seperti ini, biayanya seperti ini. Ternyata memang harus menunggu waktu yang jauh lebih lama dibandingkan negara Malaysia gitu. Informasi yang terbaik semoga bisa bermanfaat bagi orang-orang yang memerlukan informasi seperti ini. Untuk video kali ini cukup sekian. Bagi teman-teman yang suka sama video ini, jangan lupa untuk like, comment, dan subscribe. Dan kita ketemu di next video. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.